there. Real quick, I wanted to come on and do this really quick video about one of my favorite holidays, Lent. Lent is all about sacrifice. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give you some tips on how to choose what to give up for Lent and maybe give you a different perspective of how you've been looking at Lent in the past. Now, I want to start by saying this. I am not the number one Christian in the world. In fact, I do not even consider myself a Christian. But Lent, when I was a Christian, Lent is one of the things that I took away from Christianity that I really thought embodied the idea of being Christ-like and giving, sacrificing for your higher power. Now, I know Lent was created in the Old Testament and it was before Christ, but if you think about the ultimate sacrifice, when you think about Christianity, Jesus Christ is like the ultimate sacrificer. So when you think about Lent, really dig deep to find or decide what you can give up, what you can sacrifice for your higher power, for your best and highest good, for that transformation that you may be looking for, so that you can evolve or be new or resurrect like Jesus did. Now, again, this is really not a religious video. I am not a preacher or a minister, but I do believe that Lent and what Lent represents can add value to your life. And let me tell you why. I've given up things for Lent that I have not picked back up. Picking back up. Okay, so clearly I'm also not an English teacher, but I've not picked back up. After I got rid of them, like that 6 weeks of practice, because as a hypnotherapist, I know that the brain needs practice to start doing something new. A new transformational change in life comes from practice. And the brain is going to want to go towards familiar and away from unfamiliar, even if it's good for you. And so sometimes in the beginning, when you decide to eliminate something or release something from your life, it can be really difficult. Well, you can use the Lent to help you in that practice, because if you are Christian, then you may be convicted by Lent. You may be really connected to Lent. And so you can use that as a catalyst to catapult you forward, because the brain learns slow and the brain learns fast. Now, the brain learning fast is a catastrophic event. Something happened, bam, you got to change. The brain learning slow is your ABCs, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like that. Well, Lent gives you a chance for your brain to learn slow. Now, let me explain who I am. I've already told you who I'm not, and that's the biggest Christian or a minister or a pastor or even an English teacher. But who I am is Kanae Corder. I am a national certified counselor and the world's #1 clinical hypnotherapist specializing in financial therapy for CEOs and high achievers who want to manage their stress so they can enjoy their success and turn their money into meaning. Now, what does Lent have to do with money or meaning or stress? A lot. And here's why. Because managing your stress is about changing your brain. It's about letting go of those things that you are so connected with, that you have pulled into your life and are not ready to release usually because they are familiar to you. Even though they may not be serving you, they are familiar to you. So I'm asking you today, if you do celebrate Lent, that to go ahead and pick something that is really going to change or matter in your life. Now, a lot of people give up sweets or gluten or chocolate or bread, or maybe even they give up cursing. They might give up yelling, whatever, but what they don't say when they give this thing up is that they're probably going to pick it back up as soon as Lent is over. I suggest you pick something that you don't want to pick back up, that you really want to release from your life. And that's why this video is coming to you today. So if you're watching this video, then it's time for you to find that thing in your life that is really blocking you, getting in the way of your best and highest good. Now, some of the things that I have given up in the past for Lent have been multitasking. Boy, was that hard. Yes, one thing at a time, no two things. I could not do two things together. It was tough because I would typically talk on the phone and do something else. I would typically eat and do something else. So it really made me have to focus on what I was doing and connect with what I was doing. But it was tough because I really liked getting things done, two things at a time, because it was efficient and then time consuming when you have to do one thing at a time. So I gave up multitasking. I gave up judgment. That was the first big thing that I gave up for Lent, was judgment. And I did that back in 2012 when I wrote my book, The Art of Starting Over. And I really wanted to start over fresh, new, be clean of what was holding me back, and judgment was holding me back, and it might be holding you back. So consider giving up judgment for Lent. And when you give up judgment, boy, do you learn how judgmental you are. And I didn't think I was a judgmental person. You probably don't think you are either. But as you give up judgment, you will see how much you judge. Both ways, because you could be judging something good or bad. And good or bad is relative. But what I'm saying is, you could say, oh, that's a cute shirt that she has on. That's a judgment. Or you could say, why is that person driving like that? That's a judgment. All of those little things that you judge throughout the day takes brain space. And it is stressful to be judgmental. You don't realize it, but it is. It takes a lot out of you. And when you're putting out that negative energy, you're going to get more of that negative energy back. So if you feel like people are judging you, it's likely that you are judgmental. Another thing I gave up was expectations. I was just curious rather than expecting people to perform a certain way, each thing that I wanted them to do. Just say, let's see how this will turn out. I gave up impatience. I've given up some really powerful things that have completely changed my life. This year, I'm giving up 2 phrases that I don't want to pick back up. Now, it's going to be tough because these are 2 phrases that I use a lot, I've learned already. Because I actually gave these up for New Year's, but I am rededicating myself to these for Lent. And those 2 phrases are, I know, and me too. Now, not to be confused with the Me Too movement. I know and Me Too means something else. And let me explain. I know is what happens. Let's say, for instance, somebody tells you something that you believe you already know, right? Then you say, oh, I know, blah, 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 right? You told them how you know. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let them tell me. Even if it's something about hypnotherapy or counseling or nutrition or stress management, any of the things that I consider myself an expert on, I'm not going to say I know. I'm just going to listen and hear their perspective, even if it's something I think I already know. The other thing that I'm not going to do anymore is to say me too. Why? Because if somebody's telling you their story, and then you're like, oh, me too. I went there. And when I went there, blah, 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 blah. It now becomes about you. It's not about their story. They're telling you a story about the time they went to the Grand Canyon and how awesome it was and just whatever experience they had. And then you decide to tell them about your Grand Canyon experience. Oh, me too. I went to the Grand Canyon when I was 12 and I got lost. But now the story is about you and it's no longer about them. You just took away their story. And they wanted to bless you with that story and leave that with you and share that with you. Just connect with them. That is what I'm telling myself. Now you do whatever you want. But for me, I would like to connect more with the people who are talking to me. I just want to listen. I don't have to connect. I used to connect by having it in common with them. Now I am connecting by just listening. So I'm giving up saying me too, and I'm giving up saying I know. What will you sacrifice? Put it in the comments. Tell me, I so want to hear. Lent is an awesome time for you to rededicate to yourself, to give up or release that which no longer serves you and embrace that which is for your best and highest good. Now, again, I am Kanae Corder, National Certified Counselor and the world's #1 clinical hypnotherapist, specializing in stress management and financial therapy. I am not a pastor, a minister, or even your number one Christian. But I am a person who knows that if you give up something, if you sacrifice something, you will get everything you need and want beyond measure. So go ahead, let it go. And let's see what happens. I'll see you sooner.